All right,
Okay.
so we are recording, and I just wanted to, and you did as well. I want to take advantage of the question you just asked me. Could you just repose it to me so we can engage in this nuanced experiential question?
Yes. Well, we've been talking for a while, and we got to this point where it's like, gosh, if I could unpack anything, this would be it. And so, unpack it with attention and presence, right?
Right.
So, but I'd have to give a background before I ask this question, right? I mean,
Yeah,
because
of
it's going to
course.
sound like, what are they talking about? I was talking about my life and my experiences, transformative experiences in my life that I never had a normal life. I kept experiencing visits from a variety of non-human intelligence, and everything that looked like what you would imagine angels to look like, to the typical grays that people talk about, to even some that looked mantis looking. But that was all here in my mind's eye. That wasn't, oh, there's a mantis being walking through my door and wants to kidnap me. It's not on that level. It's on the level of like lucid dreams and out of body experiences, with the rushing of the. Have you ever had a out of body experience?
Yeah,
Yeah.
I learned how to astral project actually.
Oh, cool. Okay. So you know what this feels like. You know that you're going um, beyond consensus reality. Basically, you're going beyond what we know. We're we're moving into more of the unknown spaces that we're all collectively terrified of and individually terrified of. So this is the life I've had to live, and I used to complain bitterly about it, and it was awful because I didn't know how to fit into the world with so much change to my consciousness, um, and no way to explain it to people without being cut off, dismissed immediately. So we're getting to what I want to unpack.
Right.
Um, and so now I just want to say that it's an enormous blessing because it has transformed my consciousness, and I have these abilities to perceive beyond linear, to perceive beyond the intellect, to almost like absorb data, um, and and then translate it. So it's like I see pictures, and um, and I feel it's like a sphere of data, and then I just pull on one string, and then like yes, my response is yes, I will absorb this wisdom, and then boom, it arrives, and then I feel and see and know, and then I can translate that to the best of my ability, right? It's like
Right.
I'm just using my own life experience, my own vocabulary. It's not real sophisticated, as sophisticated as it could be if I were a different person with an extreme education in the sciences, and so on. But that's a catch-22, because if I had been that person, I probably would not have um, survived things like this happening to me, right?
Absolutely.
And I would have, it would have been too much of an extreme. So I just wanted to point that out, that I have always reflected on that. Well, if I would have gone down the path of really enhancing my left brain capabilities, then I would not have been available for these experiences. Um, so it's in the past few years, I've really started coming out, talking about um, what happened to me and how this has evolved over my life, and that I feel and I'm encouraged by this presence that I can connect to rather easily now. I feel that it's my passion. It's what I want to. I feel like I can contribute something, and I'm not saying exactly what that is. I don't know until I'm in dialogue, like
Right.
with someone like you, and then someone that doesn't judge me, right? That has an open space here. So what I want to unpack is I want to understand what is happening inside another person's consciousness when I share things like this. Like when I say, I'm an experiencer with non-human intelligence. I've learned so much and I have changed so much through these dialogues and through these visitations. And then, not even to mention the eventual Kundalini experience that, blew the roof off of my consciousness and took years to integrate even that. So mystical experience after mystical experience. And, and I've had to do this all on my own, basically, with very little reflection from other people. So the pain, the extraordinary pain that occurs when I can't reach people to tell them this important information, what's happening. So I say, I have experienced contact with non-human intelligence. It changed me. I have so much to share with you. Boom. What's going on with you as a normal person?
Right. So do you want my
Yeah,
personal?
respond. Yeah. I mean, I know it's not you, because obviously we wouldn't have gotten this far in our dialogues if that were you, right?
Right.
And so because you personally experienced that phenomenon that occurs when people go, this is a crazy person, or the knee-jerk judgment, right?
Right.
So yes, please share what your experience of that is. What is it that you feel is happening?
Okay. So, and what I feel is happening when you tell me that, right? Like,
That, and or what you imagine is going on with people who immediately dismiss.
so perfect. I
Okay.
think what I'm going to start with what I think why people I think immediately dismiss things.
Okay.
So there's already this illusion that we call common sense, and it's shared amongst a small group of people who talk in the same kinds of mental models unconsciously without realizing it. And so when they hear something like that, that is actually a highly sophisticated thing that you just said. And even though it's not scientific, it is sophisticated in a very unique way. And so, because what you said to me, in my opinion, seems not to have a strict mental model, but it's just what you experienced. You're not trying to frame something. Uh, 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 you're not trying to express something that you think occurred. You're saying, no, this is my vocabulary, and here's what I experienced uh, occurring. You're not what most people do, which is why they dismiss people like us, is they start with common sense, which is basically already an illusion, and they say, well, this doesn't correlate with my mental model,
Right.
and then it just gets worse and worse because let's say you keep talking to them after they dismissed you, they'll say, okay, well, this person is still talking to me, which means that they're a person. So now I have to dismiss the way they express themselves, their vocabulary, the
Yes.
tone, the
Yes.
attitude that I think they're trying to express. I'm
Yeah.
going to explain why it's wrong. Well, that doesn't make any sense because it doesn't make sense psychologically. It
Yeah.
doesn't make sense neurophysiologically. And ironically enough, when they use those terms, that doesn't even fit their mental models. They don't know what those words mean.
Right. They're regurgitating.
Yeah, they're
Yeah.
regurgitating because
Yeah.
they know that they know that whatever authority that they're
Yes.
speaking to, they feel
Bingo.
that,
That's the word.
yeah, they feel
Authority.
like enough people go to that authority in these types
Yes.
of situations that they
Yes.
feel like they're safe. They're like, hey,
Yeah.
well, you're not a neurobiologist, you're just crazy.
Yeah.
So I think that's just what occurs with most people. They take their mental models as common sense, and they don't pay attention to what actually can be sensed in what you're saying.
Yeah.
And then when you continue to talk in your sense, since they still haven't acknowledged the fact that you're sensing something unique, they focus on like the nitpicked attributes, like, oh, the language, the attitude, what I think she's saying. And it just gets more
Right.
and more detrimental from there. And
So perfectly outlined. So perfectly said. Thank you. And I want to go a little bit further with it because the I want to describe from my view what it's like. Okay, so over time, this evolution has occurred to where I'm not terrified of it. It has evolved into almost like matching energy, resonance, coherence, right?
right,
um, to where it's equal, or somewhat in that vein. And then I have ecstatic experiences to where the love is so huge that it's like there were times where I had to say, I can't do this. Stop. It's too much. Excuse me. Can you imagine having to be in an apologetic position, describing that to somebody? Like, sorry, but I've had ecstatic experiences with this presence. And I'm sorry if that makes you uncomfortable. But I'm the one that's thought of as crazy. That's hard. That's really hard because I cannot communicate to people, this isn't about me. This is about all of us. This is about what we have access to. So what I find that's even more painful is that all of these intelligent people, doesn't matter your level of intellectual intelligence, they do the knee-jerk thing too. Boom, she's crazy. Boom, she's what did Freud
oh,
call?
hysterical.
Oh, she's just an hysterical woman. She's lost her mind. No, it's important for people to listen. I don't care if you don't listen to me, but listen to people who are having these experiences, because there's your clues, right?
Yep.
Especially when I watch these videos now, loving all the activity around Game B and all the intellectual conversations on rebel wisdom and future thinkers. And And I love when they get to the point of, well, so what are we going to do? It's like we can have these exciting intellectual conversations. It's like, oh my God, this is fantastic. I love it.
Right.
And then it's like, but then it always comes up against okay, but then now what? And I'm always like screaming the video. It's about opening up your consciousness to more so that you can see what's next.
Exactly.
It's perception. So we can talk this out forever and ever and ever, and it can sound fantastic. And it's like, I mean, I love discussions and the dialogues, but it's always just going to get to a certain point where it's like, okay, well, I'm tired. Have we talked enough today?
Right.
That it's got to come to this interior. It's got to go within to get to those other aspects of our consciousness that will fill in all these blanks so beautifully. Because that's what I've learned over my lifetime of this kind of, um, what we were saying earlier, the shamanic death and rebirth process, crazy amount of times, where you just start, your consciousness changes and you just start absorbing data. You access data that's all around and in us, that doesn't arrive in language. It's a knowing. It's just a knowing. And we get glimpses of this, through this is where inspiration comes from in great art. And I'm not saying humanity hasn't had access to it, but I've learned by speaking to other experiencers, is what they call us, that when your consciousness changes, that's basically the biblical, you now have the eyes that see and the ears that hear. And it's like, oh, all these paradoxes just disappear. They vanish, because it's like I see the in between. I see it all now. All these question marks that you couldn't access just with thinking alone, are now being filled in with this energy, with this presence. So I have tried so many times to reach people, and my many, many, many years of writing and trying to say, no, it's not, I can tell what you're thinking. It's not that. No, don't go there. Yeah, you can almost watch, and you can probably relate to this too. You can almost watch where they go. Oh, no. And you just want to grab them and pull them back and go, no, please don't go down that path. I need you to be here. I need you to be here so that we can bring attention, full attention to this, this topic, this discussion. But what I find, and I want to ask you, I'm going to ask this question of you too, or ask you to reflect on it. It's a fear. So that when you're present with somebody with truth, you can see them like, I have to fucking get out of here now. What can I knee jerk to? Because this is too intense.
I really agree with that. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's exactly what I've experienced. It's just there I've been in many situations where people try to find a limitation about me, where, let's say, I'm a very mentalistic person, and they'll try to say, okay, well, that means he's not a spiritual person. And they'll be talking about God or about divinity. And then I'll
Yeah.
have a vast assortment of things to discuss. And they'll be like, okay, well, there's nothing past spirituality. So at least we know he's not this kind of alien guy. And then I'll talk philosophically about what might be beyond the spiritual realm. And then they're just kind of like, okay, what the hell are you? I need to find
The box, yeah.
and they just go nuts, and they're like, all right, he's just Nick. That's what he is, and I don't have to think about it because now I can just
Yeah.
use his name as a predicate for whatever he has to say in order to avoid that fear. And
Just the plain discomfort category for you, not having a place for you. Yeah.
exactly.
Yeah.
And I want to actually bring this back to the actual question too, because I think I would love to focus on the question of when a non-human intelligence is interacting with you, what goes on in my head when you say that. Where my intuitions lie is I don't really feel like a certain like kick or kind of like, oh, she's crazy. Uh, what I actually get like this weird, I kind of get this my intellect is kind of like this. What could she mean by that? Here, let's look at all the possibilities.
Yeah.
While my right hemisphere is like, ooh, be careful, listen, more than trying to categorize it in a thought. And so when you say that, those two forces are kind of doing this little chaotic
Yeah.
dance.
Yeah.
But the key point of that, and this is what all intelligent people should do when they hear something like that, they shouldn't let the chaotic dance form into a rational judgment.
Yeah.
They need to really look at what the dance is trying to convey in relation to what's actually being said. And I think my first proclivity is I lean towards the intellect mostly,
Mhm.
just based on habit. And
Mhm.
my first thought was, I guess it's a very boring one, but it's fascinating to me. Like, what do you mean by non-human intelligence? Because to me, because I'm an open-minded person, the three things that I thought about was, okay, either you're talking about one part of your mind that is kind of like this hidden continent, slowly revealing its presence to another part of the mind in
Yeah.
order to envelop in a unison. That
Yes.
was, oh, see,
Yes.
wow, that's amazing. Yeah.
Yes. 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 These are aspects of ourselves. And it appears to be other.
Yeah.
This is the evolution of what I have gone through over my lifetime. This is what I have come to. Is they're not they're like dream characters. I mean, even our lives here, everyone and everything is like a dream character, right? We can study our life that way, just like we study our dreams. And so, yes, I have come to understand that these are aspects of my own consciousness trying to come back together into wholeness.
That's beautiful. Yeah.
And that's what I haven't been able to get to until this Zoom conversation between two very different people that would never have met up or talked in this way in any other kind of cultural scenario, right? I mean,
Yeah,
right? So
definitely.
here we are having this conversation, and you are the first person that I've been able to be met with completely, so that I could explain it, and then you could respond, and I could leap off of that, and I myself could discover more, refine this more, and be able to not articulate it better, but let it just be comfortable within me, because I've been met in dialogue with another human being. And that's magical. That's where magic happens, with
I
that
love that.
full presence. Yeah, and I want to thank you for how you explained all of that. It was so perfect. And this, I feel, is what many in this, not only the game B space, but just all the spaces in which people are trying to come together and solve all these problems, and they're all overwhelmed, because look what's going on in the world, and oh my God, we're all going to die. And it all comes back to consciousness, and it all comes back to presence, and noticing how terrifying it is on an individual level to be in presence. What is your own relationship to presence, right? Because what I had to go through repeatedly with presence of just, I don't know how else to say it, higher vibrational presence. You have to deal with it. You have to begin to reconcile what lies between this vibration and this vibration. It's gonna force you to reconcile with that. So deep down inside, we have this fear. We know that to be true, that the game A is over. My game A character, my game A plan, my game A investments, that's over. So we can talk this beautiful shit about jumping to game B. But if you're still invested in game A and you don't want to face what's in that in-between space that wants reconciliation between game A and game B, then you're just going to keep diverting back to game A and calling it game B, right?
Yeah. And if I could add something,
Mm-hmm.
I was talking with Richie about this as well. I think in private, I'm not sure if we recorded this. The reason why there will always be this tension between game A and game B, or at least it seems like it, is because we are trying to accord ourselves within these modules of play. Because we have to think in modules of play in order to move at all in any mode. But the difficulty with that is that as an individual, as a self, there is this primordial terror lurking deep at the fabric of your essence.
Yes.
And it's telling you, hey, there's something more real than what you're doing. So if you get lost in this without being present, it's just going to become another dance until eventually you dance off the cliff.
Yes.
That's all it is. Yeah.
100% agree. Yeah. So we have both come to this knowing and this understanding and this view from completely different ways. But look, we found it because we were telling the truth. I'm telling the truth. I'm asking a question in presence. I'm inquiring. This is how we come to these deeper understandings. And this is something that I have learned from this presence through these dialogues. And so I can't think of anything more exciting
Yeah.
than this, right? Than just discovering, oh my God, if we just start talking to each other with presence, that's what's going to, we're just going to go, oh, look, we're in game B. Is that what we called it? Game B? I don't know. We're in it. We're doing it. We don't have to talk about it anymore. It is, right?
Right.
It's not, we don't have to strategize and, here's how we're going to do it, with all of our brilliant minds. It's just happening because it's an extension of our whole consciousness. So we're able to we've balanced within, we've come to not fear this presence within ourselves. So we're more open. So we can start to receive that data through resonance because we are more open. We get more informed individually. We can bring this through collectively. We can compare notes in this way and go, oh yeah, I had that experience too, and this is how I experienced it. And then through that honest dialogue, we get exponentially, it grows. It just explodes into a whole new reality. It's
I
not
totally
anything we have
agree.
to figure out. Yeah.
And the scary thing is, once you say it just is, without having the presence while saying that, it's like death. You have basically given this conceptualization an essence that is not its own. You have given the calling that was for you to unify yourself to some external other that has no correlation to what you were trying to uncover.
Mm-hmm.
That's what's so horrifying. And it there I think um another scary thing is, I think you and I, even with all our insight, we both also realize a different kind of terror, which is, I wonder if you would agree, it's like the terror of the divine. The fact that no matter how many steps you move, because it's so divine, because it's so beautiful and endless, it's almost like you haven't made a step at all. And so if you're the type of person to try to figure everything out, and you go from this one extreme of just having no presence to the other extreme about being paranoid of having complete whole presence, you're not going to get it. So it's really the sweet spot of like taking your own personal growth and trying to implement it as with the presence. Don't
Engaged with the presence. Right.
Yeah,
Yeah.
don't
Beautiful.
enter this, intellectualized form of presence where it's kind of like, well, there's infinite forms of presence and I can't take it all in, and I'm trying to engage it all in as if I'm this kind of demigod that's walking the
Yeah.
terrestrial plane. I just
Yeah.
can't get it all in my noggin. That's going to drive you nuts too,
Yeah.
because
Because you
yeah,
can't.
right, you can't.
It'll blow your brains up because it's like even just the Kundalini experience, you feel like you are going to fry, literally fry, when this energy is moving through you. And it's like, it's not there. No thought exists during that experience, and no thought exists in these interactions with um presence in a variety of forms. um it's, you have to lose your mind to enter into this kind of presence. But people fear that if they lose their minds, they lose everything,
Yep.
and that's not the case. It's, you pretty much have to lose your mind. And it is odd and weird and scary, and these transformational experiences, because you don't have a way of explaining it. You don't have to the linear mind. You know, it's like I'm blown up from within with this Kundalini experience, and it changes me. It like readjusts my brain. I know that it made changes in my brain, because I see and perceive differently in so many ways. But then now I have to go, holy shit, I see so much. I'm so, wow. And the light and that level of love. And now, okay, so let me explain what happened to you. You know, so it's like, I know I'm
Right.
talking to just an intellect, right? Or just the linear, or somebody who has just a series of belief systems about what God is, and, you know, what love is. And, you know, everybody has their definitions based on what their culture informed them of, right?
Exactly.
So I'm like, okay, who am I talking, who's my audience? How do I explain this? And that's the part that is, for the most part, there's no energy to do that anymore. What I'm recognizing now, and what I'm feeling and getting the cues from within in this interior space, is that I need to be doing this. I need to be connecting with other minds and hearts that can develop this synergy and this, you know, exponential explosion of and expansion of consciousness as a result. Like, we're not going to, you know, it isn't the model of, oh, you know, let's get enlightened, and
Oh, right.
then we'll just go be in a cave and people will bring us food and we'll just tell them wise things, right?
Right.
No, we're so many of us are waking up and coming online with the universe right here, you know, right in you know, in downtown LA, or downtown Des Moines, Iowa, or, you know, it's, people are popping off everywhere. And then we go, and then we come online and we see more, and then we look around and we go, oh shit, how do I live here? How do I'll just be a, you know, a recluse. I won't talk to anybody. Or maybe I'll talk online, but I don't know. It's getting scarier. So we shut down. This is the previous pattern. I'm not saying that isn't what's happening now. What's happening now is this, like,
Right.
real conversations. But what I just came through was, you know, I did these videos. I tried to engage experiencers to talk honestly and openly about what happened to them, and, you know, not with the drama and the stories and that's another whole thing that the culture does with these transformational experiences. It takes it diverts it down these narrower roads, and that's fine. We all get to do what we want to do with it. But I really wanted to talk to people who had experienced an evolution in consciousness. But there was so much fear about coming out, because they might lose their job, they might lose their partner, they might lose everything by telling the truth. Now, what does that say about this life? That we don't even realize that we lie constantly, because, well, that's just what we do here. That's how
Yeah.
you survive, right? Is you lie. And then we get angry at a president who lies all the time, or
Yeah.
all the other politicians too. You know, don't have to pick on any one particular person, but, and then we get angry when well, they're just lying. Well, where are you lying in your life? Have you really examined that? That's why you're seeing liars out there,
Yeah.
because that's what you're creating from the way you've structured yourself, your own consciousness.
Yeah. I totally agree that there's this severe lack of just cohering in any deep sense. I really think that, and I'm going to bring up archetypes because I think that they're just useful for metaphor. But ironically enough, these metaphors are real, you know. Uh, there's this metaphor that I really like, and you know, it gets people in trouble, but it's very arcane. So we got to think about it in the arcane space. It's the archetype of the fool, and it's a long archetype that dates like 2,000 years at least in tarot cards and in Jungian psychology and stuff. And it's just the idea that we are all that archetype. That's where we start. There's no such thing as a normal person, the average human being. That's an illusion. But the fact that we stay there is its own mystery. Like it's a paradox. It's so easy to get out of it, but it's so easy to stay in it. And we don't realize that if we were just present, we could just change all that so easily.
Yes.
Because it's like someone literally blows a bubble at you and you're trapped in the bubble. And then even a child knows that you know, even out of curiosity, you could just pop the bubble. But
Yeah.
alas, most of us don't, you know?
Yes.
We're just staring idly and kind of
Yeah.
confusingly at the little kid that blew it. And
Right.
we're missing it. And I think not to make it too scary, but I think it deserves some recognition. In some sense, the archetype is an insight into the idea that no matter what mode of reality you engage in, the fool is always present. You are
Mm.
always, in some sense, foolish. But it's up to you to determine what that means or how that correlates.
Mhm.
And that's what makes the archetype so beautiful and so difficult. Because
Mhm.
if you think the fool means something, it's going to mean that thing to you.
Mhm.
You've trapped yourself in foolishness by defining foolishness.
Yes.
And it you know, it's always manic. It's really manic,
Yeah.
depressive, or very close to insanity, because sanity is always this 0 point that we're trying to focus on and be present in. But if we don't take pride in taking effort personally and in really trying to figure out the truth, all you have is just these different points that you connect arbitrarily, and then you keep
Yeah.
being foolish without recognizing it.
Yes. Beautifully said. Wow.
Thanks.
Well, we
Yeah,
have to have more of these conversations.
we really do. Yeah.
Yeah, we do. Um, yeah, I think we're going to have to wrap up this particular one because we have another one coming up that we have to
Right.
prepare
Yeah.
for.
I almost
But I
forgot.
yeah, but thanks for helping me. Just thanks for being present with me. That's so powerful, and I guess that's really the overall point is just presence alone. That's the missing piece. Um, if we can come to that place of presence within ourselves, where we face that terror of being in the present, or that terror of the divine, um, it's we're able to, if we can move through that fear or understand what is it that makes me so terrified of this, or do your own process through it. There, I could suggest some, but this is where we come to the proverbial table now.
Yeah.
Lose the fear, transmute the fear, I should say, and show up at the table with presence and all your intellect. Wow.
What a concept.
Right.
It's like, come on, people.
Yeah, yeah. So anyway, thank you for this, and I'll see you on the other video shortly.
Perfect. Let me stop recording. So.
Okay.
Let's